Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello, welcome to Netflix vs. Cinema, the podcast that asks the increasingly relevant question of, are you better off sitting at home instead of going to the cinema? Is the cinema still worth it? And our way of going about this is going to the cinema and watching 6 films in a week. There's 3 of us, and we shall each bring an offering. We shall bring a Netflix offering, and we shall bring a cinema offering, and we shall see how they stack up against each other. Now, I mentioned there's 3 of us. There's me. My name is Tosin. I am the host, and I am up in the Midlands, somewhere near Coventry. But joining me through the miracle of modern technology on the Isle of Wight are Sean.
Yes, hello there. How are you?
I thought I lost you there for a second.
Yeah, I thought I had as well, actually. But no, I'm back. He's back.
And Sharon.
Hello.
Yeah, how are you guys doing?
Shivering.
Yeah, we're shivering. We just got the howling winds, haven't we? It's been lovely. It's been lovely all day. Past few days down here, it's been absolutely. I would even say sunny, cold but sunny.
Cold, but yeah, bright.
But
and
round
very
about
nice.
3:00, the winds began to howl.
So I go out the house looking like Nanook of the North. And by North, I of course mean Southampton.
Nanook of Southampton. Yeah, that's a documentary that never got made. All right, cool. But besides that, how have things been going in your film watching world?
It's been good. I think this week has been not so abundant in the cinemas. So I think most of the films, they seem to have a long life at the moment, so they're hanging on in there, aren't they? So there's 10 films on, but some of them have been around since Christmas.
Yeah, or before.
So we're struggling to fill our cinema quota at the moment.
Oh, yep. Yeah, that is true, but it means it does give us the chance to sort of like revisit something that only one of us had seen previously.
Yes.
And then the others kind of come in and go, what on earth were you thinking? Or otherwise.
And Netflix they sort of keep churning it out, don't they? Though I find it increasingly tough to find really good stuff.
Yeah, because it recommends stuff. And I mean...
You watch one thing and they say, because you watched that, you're bound to like this, and it's nothing like what you've just seen.
It is strange like that, but there's some really, really interesting stuff on there.
Oh, yeah.
I spent about a good 10 minutes looking through, because I've got it on the computer, on my laptop now, but it's still, to navigate the way through it, there's too much stuff, isn't there?
Yes.
There's just way, way too much stuff, but there's going to be some good stuff but what is really nice is, right, I saw this sort of documentary film, and I think it is only on Netflix, and it's it was called Sad Hill Unearthed, and it's about the good, the bad, and the ugly in the film, the shoot-off scene, the cemetery scene, and it's about these people that had sort of discovered it, and they tried to make it into, because it's the 50th anniversary or whatever, and they tried to make it into get it back up and going, and loads of people turn up, and it's brilliant because they talk to Sergio Leone and Ennio Morricone. And
nice.
Metallica, because they always play it at the start of all their gigs, yeah. And they even show the scene, and there's some people that have reenacted the scene, sort of frame for frame, shot for shot. So that was a real bonus. But the reason I say about it is because, I got a text from my mate Paul Wilding, school friend, right? And I mean, I hadn't seen him for 30 years, and I just happened to, because of sort of situations when I was over the mainland, I popped in to see him for 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And then we haven't been in touch again for a long time. And he texted me and he said, Sean, I've just seen this thing on Netflix called Sad Hill Unearthed. It's really, really good. And I remember we loved the film, so I thought you might be interested in it. And I thought, whoa. So I looked it up and there it was. Yeah. So, but it's just to say, Paul, and I said to Paul, I'm probably going to go over, not this weekend, next weekend. And I said, Paul, we're going to meet up and we're going to discuss it. Because we used to love that. That's what we used to do. The Clint Eastwood movies, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So that was just really nice. Just a coincidence thing about Netflix. And I asked him, because we was into the comics and obviously the Punisher's on Netflix. And I said, man, I watched, he goes, I put, what did you think of the Punisher? And he goes, I'm halfway through it. I'll let you know when I finish. So Netflix is
bringing you together.
Yeah, bringing us together. Cool.
So did you tell Paul that he's going to get a shout out on the podcast?
I didn't, but I will. I'll send him a thing. I'll say he will now. Yeah. So yeah, like that.
All
so
right,
hello,
cool.
Paul. This is a nod to you, mate.
Well, thank you very much, Paul. Thank you very much, Paul. I think you're our first sort of interaction with the outside world, apart from our subscribers, which keep inching up on the subscribers to the podcast keeps inching up on Pinecast.
Nice.
I know. It's quite cool. I mean, it's not as if we're getting like massive numbers or anything like that. But quite frankly, I'm just happy that there's some people who seem to be listening and going, you know what, that guy's not a total idiot, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. So. No, but it's really cool what you said about the Netflix thing, because I think I remember reading that story about the guys who were trying to restore the site where where the final graveyard scene had happened, The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, because that site didn't exist. They built it for the film, and so when they finished, they just took it all down again. And apparently they've got. I remember thinking about this last year. I was thinking that we need to go on a trip because it's somewhere. It's in northern Spain or something like that.
Yeah, Almeria.
Yeah,
Almeria.
Yeah, it's somewhere that we need to go on a pilgrimage and go there, because that sounds like my kind of holiday, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it does, and I think they've sort of made it up, like, you know, someone's found it and they've sort of recreated it, and they've done like a reenactment, and you know. Yeah. There was on the actual program. There's like these two Canadians. There it is. So people do make pilgrimages, you know.
Yeah.
There it is. This bit. I've been waiting for this for so long. There's a and I think they've even put up a couple of gravestones, Arch Stanton and Unknown. There's no name on it. That's a great thing, that, isn't it? Do you remember that? You've seen Good, Bad, and Ugly.
Yes,
Where's it? The grave. Unk. There's no name on it.
I have read some of the books, actually.
Oh, yeah, I've read the books too.
But The Man with No Name, there's loads of them, books.
Yeah. They are, but I think interesting thing here, I'm going to go, like when you read a book, if you've seen the film and read the book, I think to me, the film, unless it's really, really wide of the mark, the film very much, you think of the characters in the film. Whereas if you read a book, except for Lord of the Rings, if you read a book, you can get a mental picture of characters, and they're totally different when you see them on the screen, except for Lord of the Rings, because they were how I pictured them. Which I think was what made it so good.
Yeah, what everyone felt that. Yeah,
I would agree. I would agree with you on that. Okay, so this is turning into the Sergioli Appreciation Podcast.
Oh yeah. Wow.
But hey, you got to recognize a master. You've got to recognize when someone's got game. So with Gee, that's actually quite good. I've actually forgotten what we're going to talk about, because now I'm like, oh my God, Sean, yeah, you're right. but one thing I have to say is we had a bit of a mishap this week, where immediately after recording the podcast last week, the equipment that I use over here to record myself broke. And it was, I guess it was kind of it to wait until after the podcast was recorded, but it broke. And then this week I had to sort of like run around. And we just want to say thanks to Kirk Pickstone of Dougie Stone Radio. You can find them online, Dougie Stone Radio. Their tagline is "We're freaking global," and they actually help. Yeah, I know. It tells you the kind of radio station it is, and they actually lent us some equipment so that to make sure that we could actually record this week. So thank you very much, Kirk.
Oh, that was nice. Thanks for that, guys.
Yeah, you are an absolute legend. And the other thing I was going to ask is, when we kicked off this whole podcast thing, we said, okay, Netflix versus cinema. And Sharon, you were still very much cinema. You didn't have Netflix. You didn't do any of that.
No, I didn't have.
And you said you were going to have a trial. You're going to get yourself a trial of Netflix, because you could have a 1-month trial to see how things go, see how it works. The question now is, are you going to continue now that your 1 month is over?
Well, I've had my free month, so what I have decided is I'm going to give it another month. So I'm going to do a paid month and then review it at the end of that, because I think the first month you tend to spend a lot of time catching up on the back catalogue. And then I want to see if there's enough new stuff released to keep me interested. Because I found this, I did subscribe to Now TV. And literally that was for 2 months. I had my free month, and then I watched all the things I've been meaning to watch. And then you end up having like the daily releases or the updates. And I found that there wasn't enough coming out every day to keep me interested. So I sort of dropped both Now TV films and Now TV entertainment. So I was going to do the same with Netflix, or give it another month to see if there's enough new releases coming out to keep me going, because the first month I've really been, and this time of year, as I'm a seasonal worker, I have much more time in January, so I've been able to watch whole seasons of things where normally I'd probably only watch one episode a week. So I'm just waiting. I'm just biding my time still, Toast. So at the moment I'm sticking with Netflix for the time being.
Okay.
Could I just hop in it? If it's a really, really bad weekend, there's a new, and I think it was released on the 25th of this month, there's a Korean zombie series called Kingdom, which
you have my
I'm going to try. I am going to try and binge watch that if it's bad weather, but I don't know if I can.
Yeah.
So, but I love zombies. You love zombies.
I love zombies.
You love zombies. And it's a Korean one, and the trailer for it looked pretty good. So.
Walking Dead is back soon, though, so that might be my zombie quota in 2 weeks.
And when are we going to get Game of Thrones back? Anyway, sorry, we're digressing. We're digressing.
The truth is that, especially when you talk about Koreans know how to do zombies. Like
they do. Train to Busan, eh?
Yeah, Train to Busan.
I think they know how to do horror generally, don't they? I think because they come from a different cultural perspective. It's well, I've watched Korean horror and it freaks me out because it just comes from a different place and it's just quite creepy, I think.
Yeah, only on Netflix.
What Train to Busan?
No, the Zombie Kingdom.
Okay,
Korean
cool,
zombies.
Cool.
And then the trouble is just sorry, Toes. We go like Shan was saying. There's so much on there. So I put in that Korean thing. Goes, you might like these, and there's like pages of Korean movies.
Yeah,
real extreme Korean movies.
I found this when I'd watched a couple of foreign language films. Suddenly, I get recommended everything because I watched a couple of Spanish films, a Norwegian film, and then a Russian film, and then now I get hardly anything is released that isn't non-English.
You see, I was kind of hoping that we could keep to time today, but I do not think this is going to be the week where we keep to time. Because I was actually, it was a discussion topic I had that I was just going to let go. I was going to let it lie. I was going to let it, but you guys have brought it up, and it's about the amount of stuff that comes on, and they're sort of like it's like a bottomless pit that you can just sort of like keep digging through and finding stuff. Especially if, like, I think you two are a little bit more adventurous than I am. You're a little bit more, ooh, what's that? I'll give that a watch. And so especially when it's like that with you, I think that you guys could get lost for days.
Yes, it's a rabbit hole. Yeah, I disappear. And then it's eat me, and you go mad.
And the thing is, and when we talk about Netflix trying to take cinemas on, take the studio system on, now they've started doing premieres like almost every week. Like every time you switch on Netflix, there's like, yeah, look, there's a new Netflix movie. Would you like to watch? And there's a film that I'm not going to review this week, but I watched it with my wife. I know it's called When We First Met. And it made me think this is the kind of film that you don't actually see in cinemas anymore. Like, think about a John Hughes comedy. John Hughes comedies that were in the 80s, a teenager thing or something like that has like, just a small little story or anything like. You don't get those in cinemas anymore. I can't think of the last time I saw something like that in the cinema.
No, they don't. They've just gone sideways, haven't they, onto platforms?
Yeah, they disappeared for a while, and then now, and Netflix is just picking up that slack. Because I remember sitting down there and thinking we want to watch a little sort of like mindless kind of like thing on a Friday evening, and we're like, oh no, not that. And almost everything that we were seeing was like, oh, let's have a look at that. That looks like it might be good to watch with my wife on a Friday evening. It was all like a Netflix original, and it's so essentially, I'm really, really beginning to worry for cinemas.
Well, I think it reminds me very much of when video shops first opened, how you suddenly had the phenomena of direct-to-video films. So like a big film in my sort of late teens, early 20s was like Dirty Dancing. That never got a cinema release in Britain, but it became huge.
Really?
There's probably isn't anyone in this country who hasn't seen it at some point, but it was a direct-to-video in this country. So I think Netflix and other platforms, Amazon Prime and stuff, are picking up those films that used to be direct to video. They're saying, well, actually, we could make these. And it's sort of just cut out that whole video. Well, the video shop has gone the way of the dodo, hasn't it?
That is really, really interesting because I watched one, like sometimes you go on YouTube and you just get caught, and it was this 10 companies that really messed up. And Blockbusters had a chance to buy up Netflix for something like...
They did.
$200,000 or something like that. Something quite cheap. Really? They had a chance, because Netflix, and they said, no, we don't want to do it. And then look what happened.
I think they actually said they think it's stupid and it's not going to catch on. They were like, wait, but if people are doing that online, then what are we gonna do with our stores? No, we're gonna stick with the stores. Yeah, that was clever.
There used to be loads of them, didn't there? Blockbusters everywhere.
Yeah, every town had one practically.
That's right.
Oh, man. Okay. All
right. Let's get. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we got to get cracking. Although I do like a little chats about how quickly the world is changing. It makes us sound mega old. It's like, oh, I remember back when all this was fields.
Well, I do, Tosin. I do. Obviously, Sharon's a young wee whippersnapper.
I fall somewhere in the middle.
Look,
yes.
The way things are moving, I am not far behind you. I think technology is making old people of us all.
Yes. That's for sure. Definitely.
That's just okay. Cool. So we're gonna crack on now, and we're going to actually attempt to finally get around to talking about some films we've actually seen this week. Even though I know, Sean, you mentioned you mentioned the documentary
Sad Hill Unearthed. Yeah.
Yeah, Sad Hill Unearthed. Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's see.
Can I just say this? For lovers of cinema and filmmakers and the art of movie making, this is wonderful. Yeah, okay. Good. That was a review, by the way. Not mine, someone else's. Sorry, carry on, Toes.
I know what you mean, man. I loved watching things about the history of movie making. Oh, by the way, you might want to watch The Other Side of the Wind.
Okay.
It's only on Netflix.
I'll put it on the list.
It's Orson Welles' final film that never got released. Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, yeah, no. All right, cool. Okay, fine. Boxing match. We got to start. Round 1. We have 3 rounds. We shall have 3 rounds today. And round 1, we're going to start off with cinema because we're going to go age before beauty. And so we're going to let cinema go first. Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can now, yes.
You went fuzzy, then we lost you for a minute there.
So sorry about that. I had my finger over the microphone. Yeah, small.
Nice.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna go age before beauty, and we're gonna go with cinema first this week. And the first film that we have up out of the blocks is Green Book. Now, Green Book, I believe we've all seen this.
Yes, I've seen this.
Okay, cool. So Green Book, I'll just give a quick roundup about what the film's about. So this is a film about Don Shirley, or Dr. Shirley as he was known. He was a classical pianist with jazz influences, who in the 60s, I forgot to mention the big thing, he's black.
Yeah.
who in the 60s decided to go on a tour of the Deep South, where he was invited along. His record company, he asked his record company to go on a tour of all these Deep South locations. People wanted to come hear him play because they'd heard his records and they thought, oh yeah, this guy is great. But obviously, this being the 60s and a black man going to the Deep South of America, it was a little bit fraught with danger. So he hires a guy called Tony Lip, or Tony Valalonga, who is his driver, his bodyguard, essentially just kind of like his butler for this whole thing. And this is Mahershala Ali plays Don Shirley, and this is and Viggo Mortensen plays Tony Lip. And the film carries on from there. It's pretty much a road trip of the two of them through the South of America, or through the South of America. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
The Deep South, yeah.
Yeah, the Deep South and
South, Mississippi and Alabama and.
Yeah, and Birmingham, Birmingham, as they call
it.
Birmingham, Alabama, and all the going down to the Carolinas, and it's pretty much a road trip of the two of them, and it turns into. I quite like this film. I really, really like this film. I mean, I think it's a bit straightforward. In that from the beginning of the film, there's some things you see in it and you think, okay, I know where this is going. So like with the first time you see, not long after you meet Tony Lip, he's at home and he walks into his house and he's like, oh, why is everybody here? Because he's from an Italian background and he has like all these Italian men in the house and he's like, why are you guys all here? And they're like, oh yeah, because and in Italian they say to him, well, you didn't tell us that these people were coming over. And then they show his kitchen, and there's 2 black men who are doing the plumbing in there. And you can see that all these men have shown up to protect his wife because there's black men in the house. And you see a bit where they drink out glasses in his kitchen, and he takes them and he throws them away. And from that point on, I'm watching and I'm thinking, well, we know what's going to happen here. He's going to go on a road trip, and he's going to have his views changed, and he's going to learn something. He's going to end up being a better person. And to a large extent, that's what happens.
That is, that's it. That's it.
Yeah, so
with
far,
some adventures
so
along the way. Yeah, so far, so good.
Yeah, so essentially you watch it and from the beginning you're like, well, this is what's going to happen, and to a large extent that's exactly what happens. But I still like the way it's done. I think it owes a lot to the performances. I think Viggo Mortensen and Mahershala Ali are awesome. They make a great sort of like comedy double act.
They do.
Yeah,
they do. You've got the straight man and the straight man and the comedian. But Viggo, you wouldn't recognise him, would you? I mean, he's really.
This is the most different role I think he's played in a long time.
Yeah, I think so. So, I mean, yeah.
The fact that he put on so much weight, the fact that he's playing so Italian. Because normally he's like this laid back.
Well, isn't he?
Normally he's like a laid back hippie type dude, isn't he, in most of his films? Well, more recent films I've seen. Since post Aragorn, he's gone a bit like, hey, I'm really just a laid back hippie type. And then suddenly he is this in your face, sort of voracious appetite for life and for food and for everything. For music. And then. But his own sort of music, he's this man who consumes everything. And that you think, this is so not Viggo Mortensen that we know. And that's quite transformative, isn't it, when you see him?
I mean, I saw this, as I say, as an unlimited screen. And so I saw
you've seen it a little while
Christmas.
back.
Yeah, I saw this a little while back. And it was I think it could go down as a Christmas movie because it takes around about that time.
Good point.
So if we ever come to review Christmas movies, like we get the old regular, I'm going to probably say that this could be a movie for Christmas because it's got a real feel good thing about it, but it's also gritty enough to confront some issues. So you've got a really, really fun movie with a great car, by the way, which I really love. I could do with that car. So you've got this really, really good movie, and there's issues in it, and it's quite adult as well, isn't it? For the sake of and the bit with the letter, I'm not sure if it's in the trailer. I love that bit. I think. Do you know the bit where he's writing a letter to his wife? And,
yeah.
He gets a bit of help.
It's perfect, Tony. It's perfect.
I do like that.
Yeah,
I really do.
Yeah, I think that's a.
Okay, no, I was just going to say, because I think with a lot of films, sometimes when they try and do the buddy thing, it can feel forced, and it can feel like you're trying to make these two people work together. But I think with this, with Green Book, they really do work together. It does feel as if you have these two people, you can feel like the thawing between the two of them. And I think when it comes to the issues it raises, because with Don Shirley, it raises a different issue, and that's the fact that he sort of falls in between. Yeah, he falls in between worlds.
That's right. You sort of didn't see that part, which I think what we're assuming about coming. Did you see that part coming? The bit where we're all talking about.
I'm not actually talking about that bit. I know the bit you're talking about. I'm actually talking about it. But that bit, I did wonder as the film was going. I was like, that's I don't know, maybe. But I'm talking like it's a bit that's actually it's in the trailer, and because I'm not sure if Mahershala Ali is nominated for any Oscars for it, but it's the bit that if he is going to be up for an Oscar, that's the clip that's going to get played on Oscar night. The bit where he's yelling in the trailer, well, if I'm not black enough and if I'm not white enough, then what am I? And you have and you get this idea of him being stuck in between two worlds and him just being a very lonely person. And I think that's really, really well sketched. And it's really, really well drawn out. Yeah, and I just think it's really, really well done. And it's the kind of issues that I know I myself have had to deal with. Going, okay, hang on a second. So these people think I'm white. These people think I'm black. that kind of stuff. Or for me, it's like, people say, oh well, you're not really Nigerian anymore because you're in England. And people go, oh my god, you're so Nigerian. And I was like, okay, cool, that's good. I haven't seen anybody touch on that in that sort of way. Because if it's easy to just make it a whole thing about, oh well, this guy, he's black and he's suffering racism, but it's the fact that he's talking about the fact that he's just misplaced because he's trying to move things forward. He's trying to be a better kind of person, but he by doing that, he's alienating himself from a whole host of people. I just thought it was really, really good.
Yeah, I think the scene, the bit I like is where he actually plays different music, where he actually he's in like a club. That bit
he plays the pure classical, and then he steps it up a bit, doesn't he?
Steps it up a bit, and that's another.
Because you see that this man is they describe him as a virtuoso, don't they? At one point, it's like this man was, beyond what we would say normal talented. He was this virtuoso on the piano.
But he really enjoys that bit, and you can see it in the club. He's like totally.
He's more relaxed,
he's just like super relaxed, and he's like just really, really getting into it all and really starting to enjoy it. Rather than the very composed, straight laced, really controlled.
Yeah,
sort of, No, there's some great bits, some great bits in this movie. I thought it was great.
And obviously there's some bits. It made me it made me have sharp intakes of breath more than a lot of films I've seen recently, where they say something from, I'm like, ooh, they did. Oh, I cannot believe they just said that. But it's really, really good. And I think there has to be a mention for Linda Cardellini, who plays Dolores.
Dolores.
Tony Lip's wife. I love her. But I love anything Linda Cardellini's in. I think she's brilliant. She's usually the best thing, or she usually makes the best of very underused roles. And I guess this happens again here, but she's really, really good. I would give this a 4.
I would agree with you on that. I got to go 4 for this film. I'm afraid just gets me a 4.
I would probably go. I know we don't do half points, but I'm going to give it a 3.5 where it's allowed. Okay. My only reservation is I thought in places it was a little bit like Driving Miss Daisy with a bit of role reversal.
Do you know I've never seen Driving Miss Daisy?
Oh, you naughty person!
I know.
I thought in some ways it was a bit safe. I thought, because as you say at the beginning, you think you know where this is headed, more or less at the beginning. So I did enjoy it. I thought the performances were really good, but for me it was a bit of and we were outraged when we were supposed to be outraged. Where the way people are treated, you're going, how could people do that? But you feel almost like, that was. To me, there was no real shocks, or there were no real. I thought. When they say we're heading for the deep south, you expect certain behaviour, and I thought there was a couple of nice points where they turned some of the preconceptions around. I thought that was some nice touches, especially involving the police officers, because there's a number of encounters with the police, and I thought, that you're going to get a "they call me Mr. Tibbs" moment in there because of the characters. So in some ways, I found there was a tiny little bit derivative from films I've seen before.
What certificate was it? Do we know?
It's 12A.
12A. Oh, right, 12A. That's probably why
I figured it would be a 12A because there's some scenes they could have made more of. And I was like, I think they've toned it down a bit. So I certainly enjoyed it. It's more than a 3, but for me, it shies short of just being of a true 4.
Fair enough.
But I thought it was a high 3.
Sharon, I agree with everything you said. Because I agree. Apart from the final thing, I agree with everything you said. I do think it is a little bit safe. It is a little bit,
but it's still good, and it's a feel-good movie, and it's fun to watch. I don't think I think anybody who watched it would probably enjoy this movie.
Yeah, I agree.
And
with you
Viggo Mortensen is great, and I've said that completely wrong. Mahershala Ali was exceptional. They're both exceptional in this. So there's lots to like about it.
It looks difficult to say, but once you crack it, it's like a party piece. All right, cool. So that is what we thought about Green Book, and now so that's cinema. I think cinema started off pretty strong this week, and now we go on to Roma. Roma, the Netflix film that has got 10 nominations at the Oscars. How did this happen?
Did it have a very limited cinema release, possibly?
It had a very limited cinema release. The same as Ballad of Buster Scruggs and July 22. They had very limited cinema releases, mainly so that they could qualify for the Oscars and all that sort of things.
Yes. I don't know, what is the qualification? Has it got to be released at a cinema at some point? So it could be like, an art house cinema in Soho for 1 week and then it qualifies. Or does it have to be a bit more than that? I don't know quite what the qualification period is for
I really don't know.
For a cinema release.
I know it has to be released for a while in cinemas to actually qualify. But I don't know exactly what the specifics of that are, but it has to be released for a while. So, but this is Alfonso Cuarón, and I need to apologize because last week I was being a teensy little bit racist and confusing Alfonso Cuarón with Alejandro G. Iñárritu, who they
easily
are
done.
Good friends. Yeah, they're good friends. They are both Mexican filmmakers, but they are very different. One of them did Gravity. One of them did The Revenant.
And this guy is the Revenant guy, isn't he?
No. This
Quaron.
guy's the gravity. He's the gravity guy.
Ah, again, sorry,
Yeah,
I fell in the same trap.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's yeah, I know. It's. I felt really, really bad because when I was saying it last week, I was like, "There's something wrong here. This doesn't sound right." Then I went away and looked it up, and I was like, "Ah, yeah, I was totally wrong. I was totally wrong." Quaron, Gravity. He won the best director for Gravity. Then the next year, Jay Naruto won for I think Birdman, and then after that he won for Revenant, and then Guillermo del Toro won for Shape of Water. Who is also a friend with them. They're called the Three Amigos, which I'm still not sure whether that's racist or not. But they're three Mexican filmmakers who just seem to rule the Oscars. So this is Alfonso Cuarón's latest assault on the Oscars, and it's called Roma. It's apparently quite autobiographical, and it's based around his childhood, where he grew up in the Roma area of, I think Mexico City. I think it is in Mexico City.
Yes, I think it
Yeah.
references. We're looking at some information about the film, and yeah, it references Mexico City there.
Yeah. So,
So do they? Sorry to interrupt you, Toast. When they talk about Roma, you're probably going to get to this anyway. Are they referring to the way we do, like the sort of Romany families, or is it just a region that they talk about? Because when we see the word Roma, we're thinking, oh, is it about
Gypsies.
travellers
Yeah,
or gypsies?
Yeah.
Romany.
They're referring to the area of Mexico that it's set in. It's kind of like calling something EastEnders. But,
Okay.
Yeah. So okay. Now this film, it's in black and white. It is mostly in Spanish, but it's also in an indigenous American language. So I think it's called Mixtec. So there's bits of it in there, and it focuses on this family, which is based on Cuarón's family when he was growing up. He said that 90% of the stuff that happens in the film actually happened to him, but it's seen all through the eyes of the maid in the family, the servant, who is pretty much a part of the family already, and she is sort of like in their lives. She pretty much is a second mom, looks after the kids, get them out of bed, all that, and it looks from her point of view, looking at what life was like in the 70s. It could be subtitled Scenes from a Life, because this is a film that isn't particularly worried about plot. It isn't particularly worried about, okay, this happens, then this happens, and because of this inciting incident, that happens, and this is this character's motivation. It isn't worried about that at all. Do not start watching this film if you are in any way tired, because it will not keep you awake. That is, it did not start watching it. And before I watched this film, I'd pretty much had my review written, because I was like, okay, fine, look at this. Everybody's going to rave about this film because it's like, ooh, it's so exotic. Ooh, look, it shows a world where there's a servant who lives with the family and it's all that kind of stuff. And because I grew up in Nigeria where we had that, and watching this film, there were a lot of things I was looking going, yep, oh, good Lord. We're worlds apart, but this is very, very, very similar and very, very relatable, about having, like, the servants who live in the house. I mean, we've had them all my whole life, and the great ones are awesome. They just become part of the family. The bad ones rob you and then run away with stuff.
Yeah. I should say some. That doesn't matter. No, sorry. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, but there's all these different bits that just keep showing up in the film, and like there's all these like it's pretty much scenes after scenes. Like the first shot of the film is of a floor, and this shot of a floor must go on for about 3 minutes or something. And it's while when you're doing all the credits and they say this film starring this person, directed by this person, all that
produced
goes
by,
on
in association with. Yeah.
All you're looking at is a shot of a floor that lasts for about 3 minutes. And then you see water pouring, and it goes back. And then from the beginning, I was like, okay, I see what they're doing here. It's a bit like, if anybody understands the words Italian neorealism, it's a bit like that. It's not that concerned with plots. It's just concerned with almost just sort of showing you this is what life is like. It's like we just plunked the camera down in these people's lives and they carried on. And we're not... so it takes about an hour before anything really happens in this film. Before
it's a bit like Big Brother, yeah? A bit like Big Brother or something like that. Sort of just being a foyer and watching stuff, yeah?
Kind of. It takes about an hour before anything goes in, but it's a kind of film that if you let yourself get into it, then you can find a lot of good things in it. There's some scenes in it that are absolutely amazing. There's a riot scene in the middle of Mexico that is just great. And there's one scene that it's something that I've thought about for years. Like when you have the servants who live with families and all that. But there's an awesome scene that illustrates how you can have somebody in your house. They can look after your kids. They can be so close to you, but you can be oblivious and know absolutely nothing about them. And it's so yeah. But I don't want to spoil anything. But I think you have to watch it. And the fact that and there's all these other things that are not said, like the fact that you can see that she definitely looks a lot more indigenous than the family she's looking after, and then you can see that she came from a village to the big city to work as a servant, and that's like a thing that happens. And you go to there's a bit where they have a big sort of almost Christmas party, and they get there, and everybody shows up at this retreat with their own servants to look after the kids while they get there. And these are things that I recognize in some way from my life growing up in Nigeria. I think for those people who haven't experienced stuff like that, they'll probably be like, oh my word, it's so different, a different style of life. And they would probably rave about it because it's showing them something different. I wouldn't rave about it so much because of that, but I will say it's a very good film, very good sense of place and time, and just giving you a window into people's lives at this particular time. I would give it a 4. I would give it a 4.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Strong.
Fair dues.
Yeah.
Fair dues. I'm not sure if it'd be my sort of film, to be honest.
I think you have to pick the mood and pick the day, and then think, okay, let's just sink into this and watch it, rather than
pretty much
expect to be entertained.
You hit the nail on the head there. Don't go in there expecting to be entertained. Go in there and expecting, okay, cool. Let's just luxuriate in what they have to offer me. Like, have you ever seen Bicycle Thieves?
Yeah, I've seen that. Yes.
No.
You've not seen it.
Okay.
No.
Okay, Sean.
Long time ago. You know, when I was trying to be all arty. This is when I was trying to I was going through my little arty phase of when you're saying about neo-realism and that, and watching all the Swedish and the foreign films, and I did have a little phase of that. So it's when you said sort of neo-realism. Is that what you said? You said Italian.
Yes,
Italian neo-realism.
Yeah, because some of those films, some of those Italian films, aren't they? They're just scenes of on the beach and things with people with umbrellas and stuff like that. So
yes.
It's if it's that type of film, I probably would give it a go, but I'd have to be in the right frame of mind. I'd have to have my little clever head on.
Be ready to look through that window.
Yeah.
I think it's a deeply uncommercial film. That's why I can.
That's why it's going to get loads of awards, I guess.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure that it should win Best Picture, but the actresses, the 2 lead actresses, are awesome. They are absolutely awesome. They play the mother of the family and the maid Cleo. It's Yalitza Aparicio. She's up for Best Actress, and the other lady, Marina de Tavira, is up for Best Supporting Actress. They are awesome. It's so natural. You just you don't catch them acting for a second. Really, really cool. Okay, right. We're gonna move on to The Mule.
The Mule. Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
So Sean, this is you watching The Mule.
This is me watching The Mule. Yeah, my good old favourite star, Clint.
Yeah, I know. An old master watching an old master at work.
Yeah. Well, basically, the plot of this film is you've got a 90-year-old guy who was a Korean War veteran, so typical like he was in Gran Torino and things like that, because he was a Korean War veteran. Now, I suppose he's that age where he can't be Second World War, a bit too old for Vietnam, so the Korean War fits him really, really well. But he's got this horticultural company where he grows things, and he's spent much more time working with this company than working for his company instead of attending family functions. So he's got a bit of an estranged family. His daughter doesn't really speak to him. His wife's they do. His granddaughter still holds a bit of a torch for him, and says, "Oh, Gran, I know they all don't like you and that." But so there's still something there. But he'd much rather be the centre of attention, gaining prizes, than he would. Anyway. Yeah. Basically, his firm gets wound up, and there's a nice scene where he's got the people that are working for him. He goes, "Oh, this is your guys." There's a foreclosure on his, and his granddaughter's obviously getting married, so he goes to his granddaughter's party. There's a bit of a scene, and he ends up sort of walking out, and then this guy comes up to him and says, "Hey, you like driving? You got a truck?" how do you want to do? Just all you got to do is this. And he's like, yeah, all right then, why not? So he's got this old beat up truck, and he goes to this one garage. I say, oh, we'll put that in for your pops. How are you? All that stuff. And he goes and he drops it off, and gradually just gets sucked into becoming
a drugs
transporting.
basically.
Yeah. And so it gets more and more and more, even to the extent that he gets, the guy who's the head of the cartel says, oh yeah, bring him, we'll have a party with him and all that. So you got like this 80-year-old boy, we've got some special friends for him, these young dolly birds and all that. And he's like, and he's still a bit, because I suppose he's from a generation. So there's a scene. He's still a little bit racist, and he's still a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because he's like. But what he does, what's so different is he just does what he wants to do. So if he wants to pull over and have a cup of coffee, or he wants to, stop somewhere and help someone. But as he becomes sort of more and more money, the cartel say, "Oh, we've got to follow him. We've got to make sure he's all right." Sure, like that. And of course, he goes off. So he's really, really upsetting them. They're saying, "You're supposed to be delivering." He goes, "Yeah, well." So anyway, it's this scene. So that's basically the story, and he just becomes more and more deeper.
Yeah,
and then he clears off for like months, and the cartel are trying to find him, and they don't know where he is. And he's like, oh. Anyway, he turns up. So that's basically the story. Go on, Toast. What are you going to say?
Oh, no, I was going to say, yeah. So, what did you think? Do you think Clint is suited as
he's suited as anything, isn't he? Really, Clint. Maybe not a romantic lead. I couldn't ever see him in a romantic lead. Although he was in Bridges in Madison County, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he was in Paint Your Wagon.
I talk to the trees.
I think that's his romantic best.
Anyway,
I think you do romance, did you?
I am searching.
Do you know what I loved about this movie? Do you know what I loved about this movie? What? It's so totally. I mean, I've done a lot of driving. I've been to America. I've visited America. I've done a lot of driving. Yeah. I've been on those roads, and I was just thinking, oh man, this summer I am going to go back to America, and I'm going to drive some of those highways. I'm going to drive some of those roads, and I love it when he pulls up. You pull up to the diner and stuff like that, and of course, he sort of does the right turn and pulls up in these spaces and that, and thinking, oh wow, and it's great. It's like a road movie, and. Yeah. So, it's
But hopefully you're not going to do that with a load of kilos of cocaine in the back of your car.
No.
With loads of what? Sorry? Women? Cocaine and women. No, I would never. No, I'm too, I mean, I might have a little bit of an edge, but I'm too scared to do anything like that. I would, no, that would be well off the radar. But, I mean, to drive the car, and do you know what I mean? And some of the sceneries, I mean, it just really, really resonated with me, really grabbed me, and I think, in fact, so much that I probably might even go and watch this one again.
Okay.
So for me, from a personal point of view, I think it was a really, really great movie that I really, really enjoyed. But I must say, Clint is really, really looking his age. I mean, I don't know, I'm not sure how old he is, but he's really, really sort
he's got to be well into his 80s, hasn't he?
I would think so, yeah. But he still carries it well, you know what I mean? And he's got that, what I like about it, he's got that air of like, well, I'm this age now, what are you going to do? You're going to kill me? Do you know what I mean? He says, okay, go ahead. Because I think there's even one set when they're like, he says, where am I? He was at a funeral, and all that. We're supposed to kill him, because he get the thing. Yeah. And he's like, if you want to do it then, like that. But they sort of quite like him in a strange sort of way. They call him Pops and stuff. And so it's just the way he is, he just wanders. He's just pretty nonchalant, goes in, we're going to do this,
You always get the feeling no matter what film he's in, he's not going to be bossed about, is he?
No,
he's his own man.
He's his own man, yeah.
The funny thing is, actually, with this film, I mean, just seeing the trailers of it, I hear what you're saying, because I actually thought that I was like, man, he's looking a bit frail. Clint is he's looking a lot frailer than I thought. It was so much so that I thought, did he do like a Christian Bale and change his body so he looked frailer? Because I think it seems to work for the character. But it sounds like a dumb thing to say, but it's the oldest I've seen Clint Eastwood look.
Definitely. He does look his age. But then there was that Robert Redford film, wasn't there? Old Man with a Gun. I don't think any of you guys saw that, did you?
No.
No, didn't see it.
You saw it, did you, Tozy? No. See, that was really good. And I think it's becoming, things are slightly turning because, years ago, you'd always want to look your best. You always want to, be, but now it seems that even all the
they're
actors,
making friends with their age.
They're sort of like Amy Adams and Nicole Kidman and all those and
yeah.
So you got Clint Eastwood, you got Robert Redford, and Michael Douglas, and they don't seem to be worrying too much about how they're portrayed now. They're quite comfortable. They're quite
in their
happy
own skin.
In their own
I think
skin.
they went through a phase where there was so hyper sort of, they had so much surgery or Botox that people were beginning just to look fake. And I think good filmmaking is about realism, isn't it? And about truth. And if you have an older person who's got smooth skin and looks like they're 40 when they're 60 and they're always picking up 20-year-old girls, there's no truth or
truth in that.
or power in that.
Funny enough, I was listening today because on a Sunday night and on like a Thursday at 4:00 they have because I was in the car, they have the film program on Radio 4. Yeah, Francis. And they had the cinematographer on there talking about cinematographer. And the question come up is, how did it go? He goes, well, I'm not going to say anything because I don't like, but let's just say some people say, this is my best side. This is, I want soft lighting and all that. And, he said there are actors that like that. And then he did say, but there are some that aren't worried, he said, and he likes the ones that aren't worried about.
Yeah, this is me. Yeah.
This is me.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
damn it, all pedos.
So what would we give the Mule?
Well, you can guess it. I mean, I probably would only give this a 4. I mean, I can't give it a 5 because it is a niche film, and I think probably if some other people were to see it, it probably wouldn't resonate with much with them. I mean, from a personal point of view, I would give it a 5, but I think it's probably for release it would be a 4. I think. I would think.
Okay, we're gonna go with your personal thing because this is all about opinions.
Okay, so 5-star then.
This is
which is really. Yeah. Okay.
Objectivity be damned.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So, but the funny thing is that when you're describing the plot of the film, it sounds a little bit like an octogenarian American Maid. The film with Tom Cruise where he ends up
right. Yeah. It's a bit more sedate than that. It's not quite so daring and gung ho as the American hero.
Then that's the difference between Clint and Tom Cruise, isn't it?
And the age gap as well, I guess. I couldn't see him sort of, flying a helicopter or plane or whatever. He's just quite happy in his little pickup truck,
But Tom Cruise at 88 will probably still be jumping out of planes.
Yeah, he probably will.
And he'll still be trying to be tan and buff, and he'll be like, "Don't do it."
Yeah. Okay, so now. To go up against the Mule from the Netflix states, we have Polar. Now, this film, all I've seen about it is it's pretty much a poster with Mads Mikkelsen's face on it, which tells me exactly why Sharon watched it.
Yep, pretty much does. He is a fine figure of a man.
Is he? I don't really know him. What's he been in then? Oh, Sharon, you should see Sharon's face here. It's he's like, I can see you're having some thoughts, aren't you?
I know.
Well,
How does he compare against a Rock or Jason Momoa?
He's up there. He beats Jason Momoa. Absolutely. I think if you know Mads Mikkelsen, well, I first knew him from Valhalla Rising, which is a few years ago, but he was in. I think the most commercial thing he's been in was in Casino Royale. He was one of the bad guys against
he was Le Chiffre
Daniel Craig
in a Casino Royale.
Yes. See, that's my least favourite Mads film. But then he's obviously done quite a few Danish films. He was excellent in a film called Jungen, which is called The Hunt in English, about a primary school teacher who was accused of being a paedophile. And it's an excellent film. It sort of dissects that whole issue superbly. And if you like your historic films, he's in The Royal Affair. He's been in I've seen nearly everything that he's been in. for artistic reasons and for Salvation. You saw Salvation?
Oh yeah, I saw Salvation. Yeah, I did. Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah.
So he's been in a lot. He tends to go a bit under the radar. He's one of these. I think he picks his roles quite carefully. He was a film where he played Ivor Stravinsky in a film. I think it was something like Coco and Ivor or something it was called like that, but he was so I've seen most of his back catalogue, I have to say, and so I really rate Mads Mikkelsen. I think he's just he's a good actor and he's a fine figure of a man. Shall we say? So this film is Polar, and I don't know much about your graphic novels and your comic books, or much really about the difference between the two. But I do know that this is based on a graphic novel called Polar, and it's basically in the world where because everyone's got like these code names, and everyone's got their they've sort of got their sort of nicknames almost. And so a lot of the film, they're identified by their nicknames. But he plays his character, Duncan a vizier, who's an assassin, who's been an assassin for a number of years. He's been at the top of his game, and he's part of this crime syndicate, basically, where they will invest their earnings, and then on their 50th birthday, they receive their earnings, and then they retire in obscurity. And that's the idea. So he's now a week before his birthday, and what we then find out at the beginning of the film is that they have a nasty habit of, the week after someone retires, of assassinating their former assassins and then recouping all their money back. Because most of the assassins in this world, where they're loners, because of the work they do, they don't tend to have families, they don't tend to have next of kin, so their estates tend to be up for grabs. So they tend to have a habit of, tracking down their former employees and then assassinating them. So Polar is the week before his retirement. And so that's the main story. There are subplots, and it sort of becomes involved in his backstory quite a little bit. But it's about this sort of group of 5 assassins who are basically doing everything they can to track him down, to see that they get to recoup his earnings over the last 20 or 30 years. And the head of the crime boss is the unbelievable Matt Lucas.
Really? Oh my goodness!
He plays a sort of like Lex Luthor type. If you imagine Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor, not Gene Hackman.
Straight? Does he play it straight?
Yeah,
he plays.
Well,
it straight.
it's all hyper. This is like everything is exaggerated. The colours are like the
like
scarlet
Sin City,
it's like Sin City, but not quite so extreme. Okay. But it has elements of that where all the women, their lipstick is not just a hint of pink. It's like a slash of blood across their faces, and the hair is just exaggerated. And so he has this look where in some scenes he's very black and white, so it looks very much like a scene from a graphic novel. So you do see him, kicking and stabbing and slashing his way through people who come up against him.
So it's quite action and
it's very violent, very action packed. It has its moments of sexual goings on.
Does it?
As we should say.
Right. Ooh, nudge, nudge.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, say no more.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. You went a bit Frankie Howard there.
So there were some going on. So it ticks a lot of boxes, doesn't it? So it's all Mads. Yes, so it's Mads and the gang. So some of the actresses in it, there's Mads Mikkelsen is obviously our lead. Then there's Vanessa Hudgens, who he plays a sort of younger woman that he meets, and he becomes sort of friends with her, and then that progresses in one direction.
Right, okay.
Then there's a former assassin who works closely with the head of the boss, is Catherine Winnick, who some people know from Vikings. She played Lagertha in Vikings.
Yeah.
She's in there.
Okay.
A lot of the others I'm not so familiar with, but Matt Lucas appears. You get a cameo from Richard Dreyfuss.
Oh yeah, Richard Dreyfuss. What part does he play in this?
A retired assassin.
Does he? Oh right, retired assassin. Yeah.
Does
he get bumped
not
off?
Talent.
No,
not Talent.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that sounds an interesting movie.
It's 2 hours of lunacy, but it's enjoyable.
Right, okay.
Oh, cool. Yeah, because a little bit of when you say the plot, it sounds a little bit like John Wick Chapter 3, which is coming out this year.
Yes, it's very, very reminiscent of John Wick in the fact that they have this empire of assassins.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's going to be like this one kick-ass assassin against all of the assassins.
Yes. And it's like, you may send 30 men against you, but only one man is walking out of this room.
Cool.
Yeah,
and there's one very good scene, actually, where you get some of the henchmen, how they don't say anything in most films. They're just like, they're cannon fodder, aren't they? And there's a few of them saying, blow this, I'm not staying around for this. And you see like 2 or 3 of them running away. And then they go past him, and they say, excuse me, as they run past. So there is humour in it. And there's just a couple of hours of lunacy, quite frankly.
Oh,
with Mads Mikkelsen strutting his stuff.
I'm watching the trailer now. Like, how you put it on Netflix sometimes and it just starts playing the trailer without anything. It looks absolutely mental.
Oh, it is.
It looks absolutely mental. And
this is the polar opposite of Roma, isn't it? This is not, you don't need to be in a quiet, reflective mood to watch this. You just,
Yeah, no. I think
this is type of movie.
It sounds like the kind of film that if you started watching it while you were slightly awake, or while you were slightly asleep, you wouldn't be after about 5 minutes.
No, it's there. And
Okay, so
the opening cameo is, but Johnny Knoxville does an opening cameo at the beginning and that I think that first 5 minutes sets the scene for basically the whole film.
okay, all right. So what would you give it?
I think as much as I'd like to give it a really high score, I think for entertainment value, I would give it a 3.
3-star. Okay, that sounds.
I would
that
think
sounds
for me,
fair
for
enough.
entertainment value, I think it's a 4. But you have to take points away for the fact that it's just insane.
Oh, I like
And
insane movies.
there's some things you think, I'm sure the human body just could not withstand some of those
Well,
things.
Yeah, we
But
are
it's
totally.
it's just lunacy and it's fun and it's great. So I'd give it a 4 for entertainment, but I'd say realistically it's a 3. It's a film. It's a 3.
Okay, cool. We are totally right back in John Wick territory in that case. Okay,
Yes.
cool. Now, this is as we go into our second hour. I think I don't know. We've been going on for a while now. But if we're talking about Richard Dreyfuss, there's a Netflix film. Netflix are going after the gray pound, silver dollar. There's a film with Chevy Chase and Richard Dreyfuss in a retirement home on Netflix called The Last Laugh, which actually looks quite good.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's one I have on my list of gotta watch that. I saw the trailer. It's a Netflix film. Chevy Chase, Richard Dreyfuss in a retirement home trying to get back into comedy. It's pretty good. Right. Oh, good Lord. So we've done 4 films, and now we have 2 more to get through. Guys, can we do this?
Yes, we can do
this.
it. We do this. Yeah, we'll have
Yes,
to,
we can.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. Okay, cool. First up, for the cinemas, as I said, there isn't much around on cinemas this week, and I went to see Vice because Sean, you saw this I think about 2 weeks ago, and you saw Vice
2 weeks ago,
and, yeah, and this is a film that is up for awards and everything like that. Christian Bale, Adam McKay for director, for best picture and everything, and Adam McKay, who started off doing comedies and has now switched into doing political films, but political comedy dramas because he did The Big Short, trying to explain how the whole credit crunch thing happened. And obviously that's a big convoluted thing, and he did really, really well with that. And now he's focused on Dick Cheney, who I first heard about Dick Cheney when he was vice president for George W. Bush. But
W.
he now goes, for W. But he goes through Dick Cheney's life and shows, okay, how did he actually end up being the vice president for George W. Bush? And he tries to explain as well, how have we ended up where we are now in the world with the current incumbent in the White House, with what's going on with just, I think, quite frankly, terrorism around the world. And he tries to explain all these, and I think he does an amazing job. I think he does an absolute amazing job with this film because I know Sean, you said you quite liked it.
I did, yeah. I enjoyed this movie, yeah. I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was great. I thought the acting was great, and the characters, all the characters that were played by who's the guy who played W? He was brilliant. Sam Rockwell. Sam Rockwell. He was just like, I mean, it's in the trailer. So hey, we're going to do this thing. He was W. He was W. Yeah,
I was shocked at how much they made him look like W. And I think with Christian Bale, at the beginning of the film, he looks like Christian Bale, but at some point in the film, and you don't actually understand where it is, he disappears. Yeah. At some point during the film, he disappears, and then after a while, you just think you're watching Dick Cheney, and then you go, "Wait a second, that is actually Christian Bale." But he is. It's an amazing performance. It's an amazing performance. I think the relationship between him and his wife, Lynn, played by Amy Adams, is really, really well sketched out. That they show, and she has this really telling thing right early in the movie when she says, "Look, Dick, I need you to be better because as a woman, I cannot ascend to any public office. I don't have many options open to me. I need you to be my option," pretty much what she says to him. So all the things I'm not able to do, I need you to do it for me. And so they have this whole thing through the film that I love what he did. It was him and his wife, quite frankly, doing it together.
Yeah, it was great. It was a good movie. It's a fun movie. I mean, it's it sort of cuts up between here and there, and it cuts forward and back a bit, and it cuts. But I mean, it works. And there's to me, I think it was great. And the characters were how I sort of picture him, especially W. I mean, he was just like I couldn't believe it. In fact, he was like a double. I still think about it now. Yeah.
I will say that. I mean, and the funny thing about it is, it wasn't as sort of like as hateful as I was expecting it to be. like, oh, these people are the devil or anything like that. I actually tried to show them as human beings from my point of view.
It was just like a film about someone that I mean, he sort of had thoughts of his family. I don't think there was any malice in it, was there? He was just doing what he was doing. And to me, I mean, you watch the show, and I don't think that he came across as being anything that he had an idea. And
no, I think people we sort of label as sort of being evil or the devil incarnate, I think they genuinely do what they think is the right thing to do. And because we disagree with them, you tend to go, what? Yeah. But they think they're motivated by the right motives, aren't they? So I think you can't say you're evil, because I think their motives were probably genuine to themselves. They're true to themselves when they do these things.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, it goes back to your whole history thing of like the thing like that with all the trouble that is out there in the Middle East and stuff. It's just that some countries got together and said, "Oh, this would be a good idea. Let's make a part." Put a line there, we put a line there, we put a line there. And, without any thought of the consequences.
Tribal boundaries
I think
cultural boundaries and things like that.
We'll do this because this will be good, and to hell with the consequences. That people don't think about.
I don't even think they thought about the consequences. I don't even think they thought about the consequences. And now you're left with what this is. And the thing is, it's funny because you know how we said about Roma being like the Italian neorealism. And this film is very like there's even a bit where they start talking about the film within the film. There's a bit where they talk about the film within the film, and it points out it points out the issue, and because it's a film that's made for an American audience first and foremost.
Yes.
And the issue, like where it points out the fact that this is a film about Republicans made by liberals.
Yes, for sure, for sure. And that comes across, doesn't it? That comes across great.
It does. I think especially in the treatment of George W. Bush, because I think he's the least fleshed out character. He's the one who's the most like a caricature. Who they just went, he was just an idiot.
So how many stars do you give it then, Toes?
4. I agree with you, man. 4.
Yeah, 4. Yeah. Sharon?
Okay.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, you haven't seen it? Oh, right. Okay. No, you went to see
Green Book.
Green Book. Yeah, that was it. Sorry, mate. Sorry. Would you be going to see that?
It's probably going to be there somewhere. I see it at some point.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. I would say it's definitely worth it. And now finally we get to Close.
Yeah, Close. Now this
is it Close or Close?
Close.
Okay,
Close. Close. What do you reckon it is? Close?
I always thought it was just Close.
It's close. Yeah.
She's a bodyguard,
close.
isn't she?
Cool.
So
yeah, she's a bodyguard.
Close
So
and
I mean that's it. That's what I'm thinking. So so close is that's it. Because you have to stay close because you're looking after someone. So Netflix original. I think it only came out a few days ago.
It's quite a new one, isn't it?
It's a new one. Yeah. So I thought I'd check a new one so that people can say. And it's basically, it's a bodyguard. There's been something going on, been a bit of an attempt of kidnapping, so they decide that they're going to go to the safe house with this bodyguard, and she's hired. They don't particularly get on the actual, the person who's being protected, but certain things happen.
Well, when do they ever do?
Well, exactly. But certain things happen, and so obviously they end up sort of being sort of away from. It's just the sort of two of them, and she sort of tries to say, "Well, look, because the young girl's a bit, scared." She tries to actually make her say, "Oh, this is what you got to do. This is what you got to do." And there's a bit later on in the movie where, my old thing about what I call the double tap, where I'm saying, "Make sure I don't get right." Okay,
Zombieland double tap,
and the person who's like the bodyguard is actually watching some stuff going on CCTV, and something happens, and so the young girl manages to do something, and she goes, shoot him. I won't tell you what happens, but she's actually shouting, she's sort of saying, shoot. The guy's on the floor and she's got a gun, but, so I'm not going to say what happens there, but I really like that scene. I don't think there was anything particularly original in this, to be fair. It was pretty much like Homeland or something like that. There's action sequences in it, but I personally didn't think it brought anything new to the show. It was okay. It was okay as a movie. It was, it had moments. It was quite interesting. But it was I've seen so many before. I guess Naomi Rapace was probably, she's great, isn't she? Was she in The Girl with the, one of those girls too?
She was one of them.
She was one of them. I mean, I really liked her.
She was the original one.
Yes, the Danish, is it? Originally? Or Swedish?
Swedish. Because she's not, she's not like a...
she's not conventional.
No, she's not conventional. And so she acts really, really well. But but yeah, it brings
I'm
nothing.
pretty sure she's been in some of the awful Alien reboots. Like, is it
She was in Prometheus.
One of those? Yeah. Sorry, I didn't. I should.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't mention Prometheus.
But she was in one of those.
But,
They're the more popular films that people would know her from.
Yeah. So I know we're short on time now, but I would say this is nothing new, but it's okay to watch. I wouldn't, you can just put it on and do other stuff. It didn't like grab me, and it was like many other films in the same sort of vein where there's just like people trying to look after people. So it gets a 3-star, this one, for me. Okay,
cool. Because looking at the trailer now, it reminds me, there's a film she did a couple of years ago called Unlocked.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was quite good. She took a bit of a hammering in that, didn't she?
Yeah, she did.
She did. And she survived a lot of beatings in that.
Ah.
But I remember the film. I saw that one, I think.
Yeah, and it's one of these things where I think at the time she mentioned trying to do like a female born, and this seems to be some along those lines again. Yeah,
it is. It's very much. I had a couple of moments when I thought, oh, that was lucky. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like circumstances, but that the normal sort of thing. So but it was as I say, it was worth a 3-star. But there's nothing new in it.
Okay. Okay,
cool.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sean, for that. So that's a 3-star for that. And now, when we look at it comes the time where we toss up our scores and we see who is ahead. Who's won this week? Was it Netflix or was it cinema? And you can tell that it's Oscar season because the winner is cinema.
Cinema this week.
Yeah, I think the quality's out there at the moment, isn't it? I think they're pumping their quality films out.
Yeah. So it's essentially it has an average score. The average rating for cinema movies this week was 4.25, and the average rating for Netflix was 3.3.
Oh, so a decisive victory then for cinema this week.
Yeah.
Ching ching.
But you have to think about it. No, none of them has Mads Mikkelsen in cinema. Mads Mikkelsen's only on Netflix.
No. I'm going to be interested in that now. That Polar, I'm probably going to check that one out. So
same here, man. Same here.
But I think,
even just seeing the trailer makes me think this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for listening in. Do get in touch with us and let us know what you thought about what these films we think. Anything you think we should watch and we should find on Netflix, because quite frankly, as we said, it's a bottomless pit and we need some help in looking at that. And all that's left to say is goodbye from me.
And me.
And goodbye from me. And have a wonderful week.
Have a wonderful week. We will see you next week. Bye.